not. Otherwise, and here we go. Picks advance for game number 1 between CJ and KOO. CJ's over on the blue side. There's that Yasuo ban coming out for CJ right off the bat.
And Azir matched by the KOO Tigers. Makes sense, both of these bans. Of course, the Yasuo bans came in the first 2 games against KOO versus Najin.
It makes me wonder out loud, if you ban the Yasuo, does that stop KOO picking out the Malphite? Is it a conditional pick, or is it something where they're only going to keep those 2 champions together? Now, they've already shown that they don't necessarily stick to that ideal, but the blind pick game a couple of days ago really showed us that they do value that pinpoint initiation potential.
Yeah, we'll see. They certainly didn't seem to need it in game 2, but what they did need was Najin to walk into choke points and brushes, and they did that. I don't think CJ is going to be as likely. Kalista, the next ban for KOO Tigers.
Twisted Fate bland on blue. What's your take on this, Monty? Because Coco, he's an excellent Twisted Fate player, over 20 KDA for the season, but is it just not wanting to snap it up with the first pick?
Well, I don't think they're going to blind pick the TF, and we do see it commonly on the blue side just because it is a very powerful pick on red side. Like Coach Sun with the rose pen today.
I know, right? Flowery. Well, the Diana ban. Well, we know Coco's been practicing it a lot. That's interesting.
Word on the street was Kuro as well. Everyone's looking over to Godfrey from Team LGD and just seeing the potential, both split pushing and in the mid lane of good old Diana.
Does leave a Victor pickup for CJ, and they will grab it right away, keeping that away from Kuro, who already threatening the Malphite. It'd be pretty surprising to see him pick it in the first round, but that Elise would not be too shocking.
Yeah, at least pretty standard stuff here, and we haven't seen as much of an emphasis from CJ on the Victor pick simply because Coco is such a talented Azir player, but it makes sense here. Kuro, this is kind of the only champion that we've seen Kuro really carry on this season, so just strip him of that potential right now. Janna and Elise, so setting up for pick and some good backline protection. One wonders if the Kog'Maw's coming for KOO.
Yeah, speaking of champions that we were wondering if we would see or not, what do you think about the Echo for Ambition here?
I don't know about Jungle Echo. This is patch 515 Doa, so it feels like it's been kind of rebalanced to prioritize the mid lane. You can still run it in the jungle if there's compelling reasons, maybe a Maokai that set up CC in the top lane. One thing we remember, of course, I Am Frozen was showing us he loved to opt into this Echo versus Victor matchup. Kuro has been practicing it in solo queue. There's no way to know, but there's the potential to see that, I don't know if I would want to say commit to counter pick, but still strong laning matchup for Echo.
All right, so we'll be even the jungle for CJ, and Alistar will be going over to Mad Life as well.
I think this is a great pickup for CJ. The Rek'Sai fell by the wayside with the strength of Elise, and now they have the Evelynn, who will be undetected. And what's Ambition's big problem? Invading the enemy jungle and dying. Well, a lot less likely if you're playing Eve and there's no Rek'Sai in the game. This should shore up some of CJ's weaknesses.
And what you're saying makes logical sense, but Ambition has a horribly poor record on Evelynn. He's about 20% win rate for the season in a really big sample size. He makes a lot of mistakes on this champion, so bringing it back, it's a risk.
Also, he can't flank with this champion to engage. That is one of his big problems.
Well, the other thing, too, is that he's needed Mad Life's Thresh Lantern to bail him out of so many positions in the jungle over the course of the season. Alistar's not going to be able to do that. Shen and Kog'Maw taken by KOO, so keeping the Shen away from Shy, it looks like, and Prey back on the Kog'Maw again, but has his positioning improved? You know, it was so good early in the year, but lately it's been a bit of a crutch for KOO Tigers, or not a bit of a crutch, a bit of a detriment for KOO Tigers. He's going to need to play a little bit better than recently.
And I think this means Juggermaw's coming. That's what I think. I'm pretty sure at this point.
No. I don't know. I'm not convinced by KOO's Juggernaut. That's a crazy thing to say in the context of 2015, but in terms of the summer season, they haven't showed that they're really capable of pulling that off in a meaningful way.
Well, I agree with you, man. I mean, it hasn't been as good as it looked in spring, Prey especially. It's like this year, you said it best, where this 1 year has kind of encapsulated Prey's entire previous 2 years as a career, where he started off very good, trailed off. He's done it in 1 year's time now. I'm not convinced he's going to be able to play this Kog'Maw too well. Looks like it's going to be Vayne for space, though, and there's a Maokai for Shy.
Vayne Alistar, one of Vayne's stronger lanes, and some nice late-game scaling here. Orianna will be the pick. We see this matchup more and more frequently these days.
But who's the ball carrier? The question I have is, Shen is usually not going to be grouped. Of course, taunt into the ball sounds like an excellent way for the shockwave to come through. At least has some weird interactions when we're talking about going untargetable, so not really a reliable ball carrier either. I like the fact that they haven't committed to the Juggernaut, but suddenly now they have a mid laner who can get really shoved in by KOO, especially early. Doesn't even have the lane control of a Lulu, so could actually be a rough early game for the KOO Tigers.
If you put Command Protect on an Elise that repels, does the ball come back to Orianna or does it stay?
It can bug out.
It's weird. We'll watch for the interaction, but it's the only truly reliable way, given that Shen doesn't want to be grouped with the team.
That said, KOO doesn't necessarily have to play around those kind of engages. They can play Kite very efficiently with this composition. They don't necessarily have to have that ball carrier, but CJ Entus, they're going to be attacking from several different angles. Maokai, Evelynn flanks if Ambition has improved in that way. So CJ has so many vectors of attack that Kite may not be viable for KOO.
Especially if you lose control of that dragon, you need to be making the fights happen. If you say KOO Tigers loses out on the first 3 dragons, they're not the best team at making things happen, as you mentioned. So kiting backwards, if they can get the objective lead, viable. If they lose it, gonna be tough.
I'd be pretty worried about KOO. We'll see if they can do it. Here we go, game 1, CJ versus KOO. Let's see who takes the early lead. All right, welcome to Summoner's Rift for our first playoff match of Champion Summer. CJ Entus versus the KOO Tigers. The fans are psyched as well. And we will see if CJ is just as good as they were before the regular season ended, and we'll see if KOO Tigers can continue the momentum from their 2-1 victory over Najin in the wildcard match on Sunday. A lot of ifs coming from the KOO Tigers side, certainly the lesser proven of the teams in summer, and we'll see if they can handle it. Looks like some deep warding coming in from CJ to start things off.
You know, my big question here for Hojin is why the Elise? You don't really have very good ganking options, maybe for Smeb, but then again, it's going to be versus that Maokai, who can be very difficult to kill in the laning phase. Otherwise, he just doesn't have that many choices. And what is Elise going to be doing with this team composition in the late game? I think the answer is not very much, doesn't provide very much appeal.
Do you just try to hunt down the Evelynn, maybe?
You could try.
What you could say is that even though it's a mismatch with the other 4 champions, maybe it's just to baby them through the laning phase. Now, Hojin will have a lot of gank pressure in the early levels, even if it's on ideal targets. The situation where if you go all in on the Juggernaut, if you go all in on protecting the Kog'Maw, and again, they've got the Orianna rather than the Lulu, so there is a little bit more mid-game and late-game damage coming through from the Ori.
Yeah.
It can be too risky. You can fall too far away. So maybe it's just, Evelynn, do your best to control the first 15 minutes to let us scale up a little bit.
Well, Crow was trying to mess with the saplings from Shy at the Raptor Pit, but doesn't look like he's going to be able to. Looks like KOO will get that slightly quicker start. Very cleanly. Taking out the tiny Raptors.
And attempted a lane swap here, but it's not going to come through. Space already in the top side, so we will get standard lanes, although inverted and a very similar jungle start.
Looks like the lane didn't freeze in either direction. There was a small chance it'll start pushing in one way, but as you can see, level 1 trading in there.
Yeah, who's going to get the level 2 first, though? That's the question.
Nobody got any extra experience, so it's just going to be honestly on the minion wave control.
Well, Praying Gorilla should have a little bit of an edge via range. Smeb's just going to teleport down to the bot lane, as will Shy. And we didn't expect to see a lot of action out of the early game from these teams anyway, so sit back, relax, get comfortable. It's going to be a little while till I have something to do.
And enjoy the Oceanic meta. We got the flip of the top and bot lane, so always nice to see. A little shout out to me, I think.
Land down under. Way to shout out to yourself there.
Yep, that's the way I like it.
Well, no one else is going to do it, so.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair.
It's a good line, though. Shout out to me. You have to remember that.
Oh, it's a shout out to me from the players. You know,
Oh, okay.
That's why they went for this swap.
This is the Australia, the ode to Australia.
That's the ode to
Matchup.
Australia.
I
That's
see.
the way I like it.
Keep that in mind. Why didn't you think of that while you were in Australia?
We did. We talked about it all the time.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
You weren't watching our cast.
I wasn't, I guess. The secret's out. Have you casted League of Legends before? I'm not familiar with your work, I'm sorry.
Once or twice.
Oh, okay, good. I feel so confident here. Check out that carry rating. 9 to 10. Ooh, 9.9 to 10.
And honestly, the carry rating is close, but these two players are close. They're both known to pack up and leave lane. They're both about the roaming. Gorilla in particular, even his Karma, he was happy to leave lane despite it being a very strong 2v2 champion. That's why it's surprising that Gorilla's certainly on peel duties on the Janna. His roaming options are a bit more limited, even though the champion's very quick. Madlife has the Alistair, but for now, both of them are required to stick in lane.
I just saying that a Gorilla's on peel duty just is the funniest thing you've ever said.
There's no Soraka in the game,
So
sadly.
no Sorakas, yeah.
To complete the banana. But
Yeah, I'm not going to be catching any bananas this time around. That's true. Well, we saw Hojin kind of lurking near the mid lane. He's coming back down again, but like we talked about earlier, there's not really a lot of ganking pressure coming in from this Elise because of the solo laners, because of the 2v2. So, you know, what will Hojin do? It looks like for now, the answer is meander around, kill jungle camps.
Well, he came to the mid lane earlier because he just was checking to see if there was going to be a gank when KOO pushed the wave into the turret, and then he left after he saw Evelynn wasn't there. So it's not... He's not really looking for ganks, and he doesn't really have a very legitimate opportunity to move forward with any kind of early ganking, so I think it makes sense. Just let the lanes farm it out, and it really just plays into both CJ and KOO's wheelhouse. We may have a gank attempt here.
We'll see. Madlife in space pushing up for now. Gorilla telegraphing it a little bit. Hojin not really finding the opportunity. There's a ward in river too, so he can only come in from that angle.
They tried to bait space next to the wall for an auto attack on Gorilla. He didn't take the auto, so no wall cocoon to make things work.
Guess not.
For all the similarities of this team, both of them late-game team-fighting powerhouses, both of them like to get objective control and then work around those win conditions. The one difference comes in the jungle. A stat that I found shows that Hojin puts down 25% more wards than Ambition. Ambition actually has the lowest wards placed of any starting jungler in the whole league, of all 10 teams. So it feels like Ambition, we think about what he does in games, often he's very aggressive. So it feels like he creates pressure by just ganking, you know, going onto the enemy red buff, trying to contest, counter jungle, whereas Hojin, he seems to be mostly about creating defensive vision, and it kind of makes sense when you have KOO in your mid laner. You look at Coco, carry mid laner, can take over lanes. KOO, much more of the defensive lane, and of course, Orianna really fits that to a T.
Yeah, pretty much.
The strange thing about Ambition's wards place too, and them being so low, is we might expect that out of a player like Chaser or Eve, who prioritize Nidalee, but that hasn't been the case for Ambition, and yet he still has the lowest number of wards placed.
Because you need to buy those battle stats, so when you invariably get caught, you have that extra health to get away from the gank, of course.
The Ambition secret, I understand it now. Well, it's really not much of a secret, is it? But it makes sense. Hojin may come in for a little bit of a gank onto Coco. Coco pushing up far. Looks like he's going to back off, though, so no opportunities there. You might have seen that ward go down, too.
I mean, you could say Coco's playing with fire a little bit, didn't take cleanse this game when there is things to cleanse, so that's the only reason that you might see Hojin come mid, because honestly, if he had cleanse, it would just be never bother to show up to that lane as, oh, okay, KOO going for a roam.
That's clever. I mean, the ward showed that Evelynn was going for the Gromp, and now with Hojin there, they can just take it away. No Gromp for Ambition. He's Grompless.
Yeah, Hojin going for a deep invade too. This presents its own level of risk right now.
Smited the big wolf away.
Actually about a level ahead in experience. Ambition really been on his farming game, despite actually, it must have been sapping experience, because he's actually 2 CS behind at least.
Huh, interesting. It's a bit odd. Janna kind of, or Gorilla rather, kind of getting pushed down into mid lane, then back into his own jungle. He has Space and Madlife trying to close in on them.
Meanwhile, in the boring lane.
All right, enough of that, yeah. Well, in this team matchup, all the lanes early on, maybe not as action-packed as we're used to.
This is definitely where I fast-forward the VOD another 20 minutes. And I'm like, this is going to be great.
We can't do that, Papa Smithy. It's live this time.
We can talk about other things, though.
It's true. Like how you shouldn't troll.
That's true.
Don't troll. Kespa doesn't want you to troll. They really care a lot, you know? When the Kespa chairman is got his Garagas cosplay going on and he's playing in bronze, he's like, oh, man. Jungle Master Yi again. Just because I died once in a lane, he won't leave me alone.
That's why he chooses to cosplay Gragas instead of Trundle. He's anti-trolling.
There you go. Anyone who doesn't play Trundle is anti-troll, really.
Zatai's a huge troll. Put it out there.
Cloud Templar. He's
Also
been known
a
to
troll.
troll from time to time.
Legacy troll.
Accidentally, even.
I mean, Hojin's trolled this season.
That's
so.
true.
Yeah.
I think Hojin needs one of those bracelets.
We need to warn him about the dangers of trolling.
They got a victory that game.
Yep, Smeb goes in onto Shy. It's a taunt. And Shy's going to walk away. Wow. He got low.
Well, what we haven't seen is that Shy has actually chipped down the bottom turret to about 2/3 HP right now, and Hojin is going to walk through a pink ward and get some wards down himself. So the pressure in this lane from the AoE clear from Maokai early has been actually doing work.
You can see Hojin's actually been falling behind experience. We've seen consistently about a level behind. Obviously, when it comes to Elisa's 6, not quite as critical as most champions with the change in the penetration. Maybe with a couple of items it's important, but when it comes to dueling, still going to be comfortable against Ambition, but draws out a pink ward, I guess, with his invade.
Yep. Now we'll just see the dual lane swap back down there. That Dragon becomes a more feasible opportunity after the first shop. Space doing very well in a rather tough lane, honestly, for Vayne, but has the Alistar, and that really does make a big difference.
Of course, you've got the sustain, you've got the ability to walk up and take a little bit more damage while you CS, because you know you're going to be able to get that life back again.
And Janna gives strength in windows when that shield is up, but obviously when it's down is Gorilla.
Oh, oops, condemned against the wall. That's a decent amount of trading on Gorilla. Actually, there's a headbutt pulverized. Gorilla taking a lot of damage. Is this first blood? It is not because of the heal coming in. Shen ult used as well, too. They're going to go into space. Wow, what a turnaround from KOO Tigers. I don't know if that was a bait or just a great response by Smeb, but it worked.
That was a great bait. He knew exactly where Prey was with the Summoner heal, and that Smeb would be coming in with the Stand United.
You don't normally talk about top lane support synergy, but those two must have been communicating super on point, because it was literally frame perfect.
That was really smart. That was one auto away from Gorilla giving first blood to Space, and in the end, Space giving first blood over to Gorilla.
And the mind games were definitely won by KOO. Of course, Gorilla had that opportunity to flash, and Space should have read more into that situation, 100%. And that's also a fault in the communication of CJ, that he was not aware that Shen was in a place where he could ult.
Yep. Ambition takes a bit of damage clearing out this pink ward, but yeah, what a great play by KOO to start things off. And for a team like CJ to forget about Shen is a little bit surprising to me.
One of the things we often talk about with KOO is the fact that, you know, their laning mechanics not the strongest. Gorilla's kind of a unique one there in that he is often in the top 10 of solo queue despite being a support player, plays a lot of different roles. He's always been very mechanically sound, and something as simple as just knowing his limits in that particular trade shows why he's such a strong support player.
True enough, well, the bot lane back to doing its thing now. Just a little bit of a lead for the KOO Tigers at this point. Almost 1,000 up, about 600 up right now.
Item timings, maybe worth talking about. Crow does have the Athene's Unholy Grail already. Of course, Coco, interesting to see where he goes with the Anton. Will it be mana regen? It's up top.
That play on to Smeb, they know he's got no way to really get out except for Flash, which he uses, and he gets out. Well, that was not my best play-by-play moment ever, but you get the idea.
Well, maybe he won't get out next time.
Maybe he doesn't have the amazing taunt flash into Orianna, ball carrier, a shockwave potential in a fight. Shen's flash cooldown actually surprisingly important despite having the defensive option of the taunt in lane.
And a nice little bit of punishment too from CJ. Making sure that they hold Smeb back just a little bit. So we'll see how much CS Shy can get out of this.
We're going to start the Dragon right now. And we'll see if Victor can do anything about it. It's important to note that Gorilla does have a lot of more pressure on the map since he got the first blood and the faster Moby boots. They also have the Spiderlings to tank, so there's nearly no risk in at least attempting this.
Teleport coming in right now for Shy. Teleport's coming from Smeb as well. KOO should be able to secure this Dragon unless it gets stolen away, which it will not. KOO able to take it, but there's a fight. CJ wants to go in on this one. Hojin in trouble, goes down. Coco gets a kill already. Shy getting very low before he makes it out. One kill for CJ already. They try to follow, but I think that's going to be about it unless Space decides to really go ham, but he's not. CJ gets away with a kill. KOO gets away with the Dragon, though.
I think it's so important that KOO got that first Dragon. We talked about their composition. Yeah. They need to continue to take that priority. Both teams have good late game scaling, maybe a little bit better to CJ, but stacking those Dragons, absolutely critical. Certainly worth sacrificing Hojin for this early.
And you mentioned in the champ select, CJ have a lot of flexible options in the late game. Engage, peeling backwards, kiting backwards. Whereas, you know, we look down KOO, we mentioned there's no good ball carrier. It feels like kiting backwards is their best win condition. So controlling Dragon is central to that being a realistic win condition in the late game. So as you mentioned, you take that trade if you're the KOO Tigers.
Not bad. After that, things still fairly normalized. Pretty even between these two teams. No turrets down yet, despite a little bit of poking here. Oh, will he get the pink ward? Trying to go for it. Yes, he does.
Tank
He'll
wars.
just taunt away, which makes not too much sense if you taunt away from something. Kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it?
Well, Shen doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
It's true.
It's the living ninja paradox.
How does, like, dashing in a direction taunt someone, too? Is he like...
He yells things at him while he goes past.
It's like, you suck! like, oh, that guy, I gotta chase that ninja. Drive-by taunting.
That's how it works.
Yep.
He has to get really close to you, though, otherwise you can't hear him.
That's right. Well, I mean, with the mask over his face, it's like... And he's like, what do you say? I have to get closer so I can understand him. That's actually how he draws them in.
So now if that hitbox is ever buffed, we can conceptualize that as just getting a bit of vocal coaching to the Shen.
That's true, yeah. He's able to project a little bit better.
Yeah, gotta project better.
It's important. KOO tried to take away his own Raptor, but Hojin was able to smite the big one. And Hojin's been all over this red buff all game, but that ward is probably going to keep him from doing anything else. Yeah, he needs to run.
Getting closer and closer to the exciting part of this match. I said
be.
20 minutes time at 7 minutes, so we're getting there.
You know, it's been interesting so far. I mean, KOO getting that first dragon, and it was really close, too. Ambition was in position to maybe try to steal it, and it was a pretty critical moment because, like we talked about, I mean, with this composition on each side, that dragon is much more valuable to KOO early on than to CJ. And that if KOO can keep the dragons rolling, they're kind of going to need it late.
Well, KOO could also be playmaking here, too. They don't have to necessarily play this passively because Smeb does have the Stand United available, and there's nothing else to use it for while the teleports are down. And they know that Smeb and Shy's teleports are mirrored, so we could see some more aggressive play, certainly from the KOO Tigers, should they decide to go for it. I think that diving the bottom lane is definitely feasible right now, and if they see Ambition, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, Shy just totally zoning Smeb out of his turret right now because Ambition's up there. Looks like they're going to try to dive it. Smeb could be in a little bit of trouble. A lot of turret damage coming in onto Shy. Smeb, no flash. Does he have another dash yet? Nope, that's about it. And really nice turret aggro juggling by Shy. It took just enough damage. KOO getting low, as did Kuro. A duel in the mid lane results in no deaths, but first turret of the game taken finally by CJ. Shy did a great job in the bottom and the top lane of poking out those turrets, but KOO will answer right back in bot.
CJ get a little bit more, they pick up the kill in top, the mirror engage in bottom lane only gets the turret pressure, and wow, with all this happening, a 1v1 duel between Victor and Orianna. Surprised to see a control mage like Orianna actually go so even with Victor in that trade. All 4 summoners used.
I disagree with what we saw Smeb doing in the top side, though, because that turret was almost certainly going down no matter what he did. And had he backed off the tower, maybe he could have taunted underneath the tier 2 and then dove the bottom side. So I think KOO could have actually come out ahead right there, but Smeb played it a little bit too close to that tower.
And Ambition picking up the kill actually leads to a big item purchase finish. The Aegis against Shen, Elise, Orianna, and Kog'Maw obviously doing mostly magic damage. It's basically 5 magic damage dealers for KOO in the early game, so Snowball Aegis feels pretty damn good for CJ.
Yeah, with a minute 30 till Dragon 2, you have to wonder how that's going to impact the next team fight between these two teams. Might be a little bit rough.
Space still kind of needs to go back and buy. He just has that Blade of the Ruin King, which means that there is a lot of threat onto him. He's not really going to be able to move around combat very well with such low move speed at the moment, especially since Prey is going to be chunking him pretty hard with that Trinity Force completed.
Shy with the Aegis buff. Going to be a god in the front line, you have to think. Madlife takes a bit of poke damage. KOO obviously have the exact timer. Both teams do, but the Aegis makes it really difficult for me to see enough damage. Specifically, Kuro doesn't have a death cap. Feels like the damage isn't going to be there from the Orianna. Mostly going to be the CC effect. So getting that first pick and getting in a quick dragon looks difficult for KOO Tigers.
And we'll see. 40 seconds now.
The thing they have is full vision control, and part of that gank on Shen top was Hojin taking a lot out of the bottom side jungle and really starting to prep this with wards. So they've maintained that red buff control on the enemy for quite some time right now. They also have the turret down on the bottom side. So KOO, I don't think they're looking too shabby for this next dragon. Inevitably, CJ is going to have to face check.
Oh, so close.
And look at the pink ward right there. Notice that that's not going to be seen until Evelyn goes into the river where they could get a pick on her right there. So that's a really good pink ward.
Oh, wow. Space getting poked out a lot, but is it going to be bad for Prey? gets condemned against the wall, but Space needs to go on the run anyway. There's the exhaust ambition right there. Taunt comes in as Shy comes out with the teleporter. Smeb does, rather. Gorilla's still in a bit of trouble, but Hojin comes in to save the day, and Prey's still chasing. Meanwhile, the mid laner's duking it out in the jungle. KOO chasing. There's another taunt on a Mad Life, but Smeb a bit low already. Prey, there's a shockwave. Doesn't do a whole lot, though. KOO backs away. Have they done enough damage to take this dragon, though?
Big misfire using the shockwave like that, and now, of course, it might even give CJ the confidence to come and contest this dragon, knowing that such a vital cooldown. If you hold on to it, suddenly the effect of the zoning is massive, but seeing that misfire, it'll empower CJ to really fight for this dragon.
Well, Smeb has a TP advantage. He already went back to base to heal up again. KOO is going to go after the dragon right now, and CJ with not a lot of life. A flash from Hojin. They're going to catch Mad Life, and there's a kill for KOO. KOO in trouble too. Smeb came from behind. CJ just a bit too low. They should have left it alone. Gorilla low as well too. They still want this dragon. Looks like they should be able to get it now.
Well, that was just a massive misplay. Yeah. They're really playing poorly around the Shen this game, CJ. Smeb had the TP up, like you said, was able to go back to base, and yet they were still trying a flanking maneuver. And remember that side of the jungle has been littered with KOO's wards. So many possible targets for them to go on as we take a look at this replay.
Well, Shy is just right there.
And it's all about the flank coming through from Shen. Gives KOO no exit route. Remember, we talked about these two junglers, the warding jungler versus the fighting jungler. Aegis completed meant nothing. The wards that Hojin and friends got when they invaded that bot side jungle meant everything.
And they took the mid lane turret after the dragon also. This is definitely looking like a solid game for the KOO Tigers. They're playing out their composition very well, and CJ just continues to play poorly around the Shen. After this game, I think Shen is just going to be banned for the rest of this series.
It seems that way. I mean, Smeb is certainly having no problem with it, and for some reason, for some bizarre reason, CJ is having a problem playing against the Shen. You know, for a team that's really made a reputation off of their Shen play recently, it's odd to see them seemingly kind of forget the vulnerabilities of playing against it. It's very bizarre.
I just don't get what Evelyn does for CJ and their win conditions. Evelyn, okay, she can cause a lot of pressure in the early game, but the only person that requires pressure from CJ is KOO. He's the carry player. Ganking for the top lane tank, whatever Shy's playing, it's basically a tank role player, is important, but Ambition never got anything done for KOO, and the farm lane suits Kuro to a T.
KOO trying to defend their turret here. Hojin is there clearing out wards. Oh, taunt attempt onto Space. Smeb just takes a lot of auto attacks for his trouble. But they do save the turret for the moment. Looks like it should go down pretty soon, though.
The lack of wave clear in this lane is being abused right now, even though Vayne can't punish it either. But Prey getting work done. Shy down to about a third HP on that top side, so we may just see an even trade right here. Looks like we will. Smeb abandoning the tower. That's what I think he should have done the last time he was in this situation.
Yeah. So we'll be turret for turret, tier 1 and bottom for tier 1 and top eventually. KOO should be able to get it. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Kuro has been able to barely keep his turret alive against KOO, and that's going to provide them, even more map control now, as they have all three outers down.
And when it comes to barely around the mid tower, that's the critical factor, is that you just don't have those spots to put wards. It really decreases the information that CJ have. So the longer you can keep that up, the more comfortable it'll be for KOO, as it is kind of scale on and get towards the third dragon and that fifth dragon win condition.
Oh, that's the plan, I suppose. They've got two already. And Kuro, we'll see if he can land a little bit better shockwave than we saw from last fight. Doesn't work to shockwave yourself too often.
The ball carrier situation's difficult. We mentioned that,
It is.
but the thing is, not using the cooldown is so much more important than just misusing, because the threat is so strong, specifically as the AP starts to ramp up. Right. But if you just do the hula hoop, it's not a good time.
Well, it's still peel at least for Prey, Sure. I mean, you can command attack to his zone and have that shockwave available to keep the Kog'Maw safe, and I'd imagine that's going to be a lot of how we see this Orianna used, but definitely don't want to do the hula hoop, like you said. I've never heard it called that before. It's funny.
It's an Atlas special. Right, Atlas.
Shout out to me as well.
Yep, shout out to you. Shout out to Doa.
I just thought I'd throw that in there. We're doing today's shout out to me.
Hey, man.
For Atlas's description.
It's the playoffs. Shout out all the people. I like it.
Yeah. Monte Cristo will shout himself out at some point during the broadcast.
I mean, the evolution of Orianna as a champion has been super interesting to me, Doa, just because it was all about the initiation shockwaves. And then it was when people started to understand that just leaving the ball in aggressive positions and controlling where people could go was actually more powerful than something that could be flashed out during the animation.
Man,
That's why.
If you want a Malphite friend,
Oh, boy.
Orianna.
Malphite Orianna. Bronzodia all the way.
That's right. Back in like 2011 and 12, that's like all my friend and I did.
Hey, man, still.
Malphite Orianna.
You know, low elo solo queue. Still great.
It was, yeah, it's still a lot of fun, for sure. I'm sure Malphite is banned a lot in Korea now, though, after Sunday.
That's what happens.
Yep. The Champions effect.
At least we see less mid Aurelia now. That was the thing in Korean solo queue, and that was a sad time for
Well,
us
I liked
all.
it when I saw it on the other side of the match, because it meant my team would probably win.
That's fair.
That was nice. So, KOO positioning around Baron now. Minute 30 until Dragon comes up, and they don't seem to be putting as high a priority on the vision. Smeb lurking in the bushes.
Not on Malphite this time.
Crab walking away. Nope. He's like, maybe I'm No, I'm not Malphite. I'm Shen. I have to get out of here.
That was super effective when he was playing Malphite.
Well, it was.
I'm curious if later in this game, as a fourth item, we're going to see that Zeke's onto Kuro.
Yeah.
Because that would make this composition a kind of interesting facsimile of Juggermaw, where if you put the shield and the dissonance onto the Kog'Maw, you get the shield, you get the speed boost, and you can play a more supportive style. I think you have to get the Void Staff next, but after that, that is a theoretical fourth item that could really work for this composition.
Something Alex Edge showed in competitive play was the value of getting that item early. It fits in nice in terms of CDR values as well. Usually replaces the blue buff when you don't have the duration. As you mentioned, it basically makes Prey. It basically helps you skip an item timing, maybe brings your power spike as the AD carry Kog'Maw maybe 5 to 10 minutes earlier, and that's super relevant. Getting a Juggermaw-esque comp online earlier is something every team has strived to do this whole year.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Zeke's, the new Zeke's, is it did empower Juggermaw in a very dangerous way. It was already a good composition, but now that item timing does change a lot about how you play it out.
Well, 5 seconds until Dragon. KOO has all the vision advantages right now, and CJ, until this very moment, didn't look like they really wanted to contest it too much. Madlife taking a bit of damage. There we go. Shockwave brings in Madlife. If they can get him, it's a good Dragon for KOO. They actually force out the ultimate. Evelyn comes in from the side. Condemn pushes Gorilla away just a bit. Shy getting into the back lines now. Kuro needs to come down, but with no Shockwave, it's a bit tough. Shy's still a bit low. Has to flash over the wall to escape, and Madlife, after burning his ult, just cannot provide any sort of presence, and KOO goes right for the Dragon. And they get it. Coco's going to try to burst it down. No, not quite. KOO secures their third Dragon of the game.
And that was exactly what KOO wanted out of that fight. Now, you may say, okay, why is he burning his ultimate on the Alistair? Well, the reason is you get the Unbreakable Will out of the way. Then once the Evelyn has used the ult and Shy is chunked out, there's no way at all that CJ that they can fight in that choke point for that Dragon whatsoever. And it's a big win for KOO. They knew that. They got all the critical abilities out of CJ Entus. Take the Dragon, walk away with your composition. Play for the 5 Dragons. Great read on the composition by the KOO Tigers.
Looks like they may lose their mid lane turret here. May just barely keep that alive. We'll see. Shockwave is back up. Oh, man, Kuro whiffs another one. They could have used that. They keep their turret alive. The question is, can they take the Baron? Shy actually teleported down. There's a flash on the Madlife. Taunt as well. There's a pick. Coco knocked up, but KOO can just turn and force this Baron now.
Super fascinating to see how they're using this Orianna ult. Obviously, missing one is not ideal, but they're just using it for the pressure. They're using it to try and get the Pokes fire down. The zoning ults are real.
I think actually what happened right there was they were expecting Madlife to go in, but Madlife got hit by a cocoon and didn't go in, so they tried to preempt the Alistair engage.
Because they drew Smeb's teleport. That's why you saw the taunt flash. They knew, of course, the Alistair ult was down, but they're just trying to make something out of the engage. But the 5-man ults pre-Void Staff, it's just not a unit. It's not a massive cooldown for Kuro. So using it for picks, using it for these sidewave engages that look suboptimal actually is for now the correct move for the KOO Tigers.
That makes a bit of sense, true. KOO going back, not going for the Baron right away. They weren't able to get that blue buff, but people were getting a little bit low. Not a lot of mana for KOO right now, so trip back to Fountain is certainly needed.
I'm interested to see where Prey goes with the pickaxe. Knowing him, it's probably going to be the last Whisper, but there's only really armor onto Shy. There's no armor onto Ambition or any of the other members of CJ.
Yeah, there's a banner of command now for Hojin.
Okay, so let's think about this item. It's just something that, of course, can be prepped in the sideways, and Maokai, even with his high base damages, will struggle to stop the push, so they're really trying to overwhelm, and if they have one of these minion waves pushing in, maybe it is just another thing that opens up safer dragon pickups for the KOO Tigers.
Well, if you've got that bannered minion moving down one of the side lanes, it really is like Vayne is the only one who can really go and take care of it, and when you see Vayne in that lane, that opens up an objective somewhere else on the map.
And
so
that
pretty smart to pick it up.
That objective is dragon, let's be
Yeah,
real here.
for
They
sure.
want dragons, and anything that helps them have any sort of mind game, any sort of better prepped waves, and of course KOO Tiger is one of the best side wave minion preppers in this league, it'll help them pick up that 4th dragon.
Sure enough. Well, the vision fairly even up on Baron right now.
I'm curious what this needlessly large rod is for on Kuro. There's not a lot of MR, it has to be said, stacked by Shy just yet.
Rylai's maybe?
It may be a Rylai's pickup. That's
that.
what I would assume it is.
You just don't feel like there's threat for Azonia's, so I guess it could be the Luden's Echo for flat movement speed, but those 2 items seem to be the only ones that really make sense, just because the Zonia's, who's going to get on top of you?
I like the Rylai's because it does provide more opportunities for Prey to just chase somebody down and auto them to death, especially when you're talking about Vayne, who can tumble away. But between those tumbles, if she's walking slower, easier pick.
40% slow on what, a 3-second cooldown with the command attack? He's not hitting the shockwaves anyway, so if that helps him get the positioning on the ball,
That's
helpful.
true, yeah, exactly, yeah. Good compensation measure there. Well, I'm not landing my shockwaves anyway, so I might as well get the slow.
You need to know your own weaknesses. And
right,
if you
there you
can't
go,
hit those
yeah.
cooldowns, then get the Rylai's.
The mechanical band-aid.
You're absolutely right. Mechanical Band-Aid was also the name of my fish tribute band in college.
I knew it was coming. I just let you have that one
Thank
there.
you, thank you. You know me too well. Who trying to take down this tier 2 turret? Space taking some decent damage from Prey here, and it's just going to be a split push. Whoa, Mad Life going in, as his ambition. Kuro in a bit of trouble. There's a shockwave, doesn't save him. Shy trying to come from behind. Gorilla has to flash, but Shy is right there all over him with the Maokai. Prey still barely alive. Nope, not anymore, as KOO takes him out. And CJ chasing. This is a big one. CJ the double kill onto KOO. Can they take the Baron after this, though? That's the question. Maybe. They did lose space, though. Oh,
Punch Smeb out of that one. And
away.
Smeb's going to have to be a big hero right now.
Yeah, comes in, and he's being annoying. He's causing a lot of trouble. He's causing Baron to do a lot of damage, but he will go down. That's an ace, and that will be a Baron for CJ Entus as well.
And there was just no reason for KOO to commit to that tower. They had everything going for them. Look at this Dragon number 4 up in 50 seconds. Put some pressure down, but make sure you can't get flanked because they Ambition and Shy found the flank onto all their carries, and it was just easy cleanup for CJ.
This is the first time they've committed to a fight without first checking their positioning. You can see it here. Kuro is basically dead before the fight begins. They're winning it, and Shy with the flank home guards just cemented the fate of KOO Tiger.
You know,
There's just no pink wards there against the Evelynn. It's a sloppy setup from the KOO Tigers, and they didn't have to commit that hard at all to that turret. It doesn't play under their win conditions.
If this was tennis, that'd be an unforced error from the KOO Tigers because everything else they'd prepped for 30 minutes of this game had gone so swimmingly, and then they overreached for seemingly no reason.
yeah, and you can't do that against CJ. CJ is way too good at finding those flanks, way too good at winning those late game team fights for you to get away with that kind of thing. And KOO coming down to try to secure their 4th dragon. Maybe they can do that, but with the Baron buff on CJ, it's not going to be easy. They're going to need to have a pretty perfect team fight here.
For 3 fights in a row, they've had great aggressive ward coverage. Note this minimap. They do not have it for this fight.
Yeah, CJ going after the dragon. It is getting lower. What can KOO do? The cocoon misses. There's a knock up onto Mad Life. Dragon still getting lower. KOO, they got to go in now. Can they do it? Nope. Dragon taken by CJ. And will CJ fight this? Shy going in. Onto Smeb. Gets deep. KOO doing some damage with the Death Ray. Mad Life coming from the side. Big headbutt pulverized before he gets knocked away. Shockwave brings in 4 CJ members, though. KOO may have a chance here, but space remains untouched. Smeb getting low. KOO gets the first kill of the fight for CJ, and CJ wins at space. Manages to chase down Hojin. KOO made an attempt, but suddenly things are looking very bad for CJ.
Oriana's not doing the damage, Doa. It's only Prey as a damage dealer, and he didn't go for the Infinity Edge. He's doing decent chip damage, but there's so many high damage dealers on CJ Entus.
And I don't disagree with KOO trying to kite that. But the major factor is that Gorilla decided to finish the Crucible before getting the Talisman of Ascension.
Yeah.
If they had had Talisman right here, KOO may have been able to win this fight.
Well,
just to confirm, the ball does drop when you go into the repel. It's a very nice shot, but the damage isn't there. And now he's going for a Luden's Echo. We saw the Aether Wisp in the inventory. It's only Prey as a damager, and that's why I don't like not just going for the greedier Infinity Edge, because if Prey's not doing the damage, no one on KOO is.
A bit of a miscommunication, too, because the Shen ult was used on Prey as they were disengaging, and then Smeb tried to taunt in after it as KOO was backing away. So he kind of just got left on his own, too.
So everything right for 30 minutes, make an unforced error, and suddenly CJ Entus really in the driver's seat this game.
You can't do that against CJ.
It's not a lost game for KOO yet, though. It's still a very even game. The big problem is that fifth dragon has been delayed by a further 6 minutes. KOO isn't looking the best when it comes to scaling, nor does their itemization really reflect an ability to turn these team fights compared to the Victor Vayne just because of what Kuro is doing. Basically, KOO has to commit to Bioarcane Barrage and Command Attack Poke at this point.
What does Orianna's item build do? There's already the huge amount of magic resist stack from Shy, for example. The Aegis was completed very early in this game without a Void Staff. I mean, no Rylai's did opt for the Luden's Echo. Okay, maybe has the flat movement speed to get away from Shy in most situations, but not really a respectable damage dealer is Kuro. It's weird for me. I just don't see how KOO ever do enough damage without getting an amazing pick to influence this game, and suddenly the ward line from CJ super aggressive, and KOO only really emergency defensive wards on the map.
Yeah, CJ knows the position they're in right now. They know they've got the edge with that Baron buff. I guess the Baron buff just ran out, but they did use it to push forward quite a bit. Got a lot of wards down, got a turret or two, got the dragon. Like you said, Monty, KOO still in a winnable position. They've got 3 dragons. They can still build on that, but they just really can't teamfight right now.
Well, the major issue is that now CJ has a lead. They're in the better position in terms of late game composition, and they can literally just sit at the next Baron when it spawns, start it, and KOO, they don't have that engage. What are they going to do? It's incredibly hard for them to actually force a fight. Meanwhile, CJ can just turn on them instantly. So this is exactly the wrong position for KOO to be in. They played out the early and mid-game in particular so well, but made some really silly mistakes on the map that is probably going to cost them the game.
The only way to call this comp from KOO, the fact that we mentioned their one win condition is execution heavy, and that was a name that we would give unironically to KOO in the spring season. They were excellent at going for those Juggermore comps that only had that one condition of getting to late enough in the game that the Cogmore was a big factor, and they pulled them off with aplomb. But just as Prey's position has gone sideways, KOO's ability to go for these execution-heavy comps has honestly been more of a curse for this team than any sort of trump card, because they've struggled all season long to make comps like this work. Orianna, Lulu, whatever the mid laner. This defensive-minded comp has not worked with any reliability for the KOO Tigers.
Yeah. I mean, part of it as well is that people just have gotten better at handling the Juggernaut as well. I mean, you can't have a comp be good forever, right? People are going to learn how to play around it, and CJ's doing a good job of it.
And the meta changed. Champions like Victor have come to the fore who effectively control mages, but have this burst as well. They can match the wave. It's not LeBlanc on the enemy side trying to take over the tempo in the early game, then falling away towards late. Victor is this hybrid champion that solves a lot of the problems and just raises questions that couldn't be raised in the spring season against Juggernaut.
Well, Dragon and Baron are going to be coming up pretty much 10 seconds within each other here, or 10 seconds away from each other. That's going to make it very difficult for KOO.
But they just can't force anything. That's the problem for KOO.
Pretty much.
It's all too easy now for CJ just to go to Dragon. As soon as it spawns, 10 seconds later, walk over to the Baron. CJ shouldn't be letting anything go at this point in time. Interesting that we see Space choosing to go for the Trinity Force in front of the Last Whisper with the armor on Smeb. That could be a problematic decision, but still no Randuin's onto Hojin, and that is Space just recalling in a pink ward brush.
As you do. Hey, I just noticed they slightly zoomed out on the static Shiv icon.
And between Shiv, Trinity Force, and the Rage proc, so much flat movement speed means it's going to be super hard for Smeb, even with the flash reposition or any of these skill shots, to actually come onto Space. So look, if he's buying a bit of extra safety with that item, I don't think it's a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you're KOO, how in the world do you set up for this next dragon? It doesn't look like they really are.
They hope that CJ doesn't get there first, but that is...
It's not going to happen. CJ's already there, man. Yeah.
This mini-map, apart from the one pink ward we can see, as you mentioned, towards the inner top turret for CJ, this is completely blank on the enemy side of the jungle for KOO, and they had such wonderful control since they made that mistake 30 minutes around that top turret. They've just lost all control, so it's going to be an easy, uncontested dragon pickup for just Vayne and Evelyn, you can see on your minimap.
Yep, they're taking it ready. There we go. So, 2 dragons for CJ, and now they can just walk up to that Baron and control that as well, too. It really seems like we're just seeing CJ kind of choke the life out of KOO for the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes or so.
Well, this is all they have to do. Push out that top wave, start the Baron, convince KOO that they want to come close enough for a Maokai or an Alistar engage, and they will win the fight. That's pretty much all there is to it right now. We do see the Aegis minion, or the banner minion,
yeah,
in the top lane coming through, but that'll be quickly cleared out. And now Prey just trying to get some auto attacks in the mid lane, but it's so hard for KOO.
I mean, ultimate control for 30 minutes, one mistake, and now no semblance of control whatsoever on the map. Such was the cost of that unforced error that now, honestly, KOO's win condition is pray for an even team fight that caused by what? An Ambition or CJ positioning mistake?
Well, with Ambition, it's possible. Space has been looking pretty good lately. Can't really count on him, I suppose.
Doesn't have a Mikhail's, doesn't have Cleanse. So look, if they get some miracle catch on Space, maybe that's their way back into the game. But you're hoping and praying at this point, and that's not where you want to be.
Prey hasn't fallen too far behind. I mean, he's got like 70 more CS, so teleport coming in. There we go. Oh, headbutt pulverize on a Prey. Shen gonna try to save them. Gorilla has the heal there as well. Prey exhausted. He manages to get out. Smeb trying to prevent Shy from coming in. There we go. Shy gets in anyway. KOO gets the first kill onto Smeb. Just not tanky enough. Nice knockup from Gorilla. Might cost him. Shockwave brings in Mad Life, but there's no follow-up. Prey gets 1 kill, though. They do manage to kite it out. They trade 2 for 2. CJ may have overreached a little bit in that fight. I feel like they tried to force it a bit too much. Still a dangerous situation for KOO, though. What are they going to do with it?
And try and push through mid. Not a lot of a wave clear apart from KOO. They can get a pick onto KOO. That's massive for KOO.
Wow, that's so much damage for Prey. There's a kill. Ambition just a bit out of position going around the corner there, and Prey gets him. And they're going to be able to get maybe an inhibitor out of this.
We didn't mention it, but Prey has the Infinity Edge, and you can see the change in the damage.
Yeah.
We talked about how KOO needed damage, and Prey's doing it all on his own.
Well, there was just no reason for CJ to do that. They were pinging down onto their inhibitor. They could have walked the long way around because the minion wave wasn't prepped, but instead they try and make some sort of crazy engage on the 3 carries in the mid lane, or 2 carries rather.
One mistake, please.
I know,
Granted.
right? Well, it's a close game, but this is the type of game you want to see, right? Where the small mistakes determine it. Teleport coming in from Smeb. They're going to go for this Baron while CJ is still a man down. It is risky. It is a 4v5.
Victor ult is up.
That's right. Can they win it? There we go. Hojin comes in to secure the Baron. They will get it. Turning around now. And wow, Mad Life goes in by himself. There's a nice zoning. Shockwave brings in KOO. KOO has to flee in space on his own. Takes a big crit from Prey. Here comes Shy, though. Shy trying to the back lines. Can they do anything about it? Shy's on his own. Here comes Space, though. Crazy fight, but KOO manages to kite their way out of it. CJ looking a bit desperate now. KOO with the Baron buff.
I mean, sure, they got the Baron, but what are they going to be able to do with it? They already took out the inhibitor. Let's take a look at this fight.
At least they keep it away from CJ.
It's a really interesting fight. Prey lives so long. This is when this comp is really starting to hit its power. It ends up being very even. Hojin and Ambition, both junglers, are completely off at the flanks. The Shockwave, it only hits the Alistar, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they managed to keep him away. Shy just a little bit too squishy there. And enough shields to keep Prey healthy.
Exit kills meant so much from KOO. If that was 2 for 1, if there was a lot more pressure for CJ in a 4v3 situation, the whole engage would have gone so different, as the living artillery is real coming through from Prey.
Yeah, I guess so. And they do have that Baron buff now. And even if they aren't able to really push much out of this particular Baron buff, at least they have that inhibitor down, and at least they're keeping the Baron away from CJ. It's a big comeback moment for KOO.
They have a great siege comp too.
Yeah.
If we look at who's fed on each team, it's the Victor and the Kog'Maw opposite each other. And you can see that 3,000 gold advantage doing a lot of work for Prey right now. Has those extra items that space is still lacking. And it's really easy for them to poke and zone.
And Vayne is finding it so hard to deal damage once goes to a full damage build, only in Mikhail's from his support for any sort of defensive utility. Vayne deals in so much shorter range than Kog'Maw. They've just been trying to be at the edge of fights and not being able to impact anything.
Ambition coming in for the flank. There's no vision again. There's a big Agony's Embrace. They're going to try to chase a flash used by Kuro. There's a knockup. They're going to repel away from it. Hojin coming right back down again. Manages to get away. No shockwave. There's a shockwave used, but no follow-up. Looks like they only caught Shy with that one, but the big story there is that the flank didn't work. It was still dangerous for KOO, but they weren't able to get anything out of it.
KOO still has his ultimate, though. He held that throughout that entire engagement. Didn't want to blow it onto Hojin when he was the only one they caught out. Shy now back in the mix.
I guess Kuro didn't end up using that shockwave anyway.
Feels like KOO needs to go Rambo, needs to flash in aggressively and draw aggro just to let Space find some space, which is ironic to say, in a fight to actually free auto. He can't free auto, and Vayne has all the damage in the world, but if he can never get in range of even a tank, it doesn't matter.
And meanwhile, bot lane is pushing for KOO as well too. That turret taking a lot of damage. Looks like that's all they'll be able to get out of this siege. Hojin a bit low. They might be able to get that bottom lane tier 2 though. It's almost certainly going to go down. Yep, there it goes. So 8-5. KOO takes a big lead in turrets right now too.
The lead is not reflected in the gold. They're literally 600. It's still neck and neck. There's still an epic team fight left in this match that we were honestly projecting from what? Champ Select 5 minutes in. We knew that this game could potentially turn on a massive late game team fight, and it feels like it's close.
Well, it's been really, really close all the way through. KOO's done such a great job of, well, both teams have done a good job of taking advantage of the small mistakes of their opponents. Dragon getting low. Can KOO secure their fourth? Shy pops his ultimate, gonna go in. Smeb keeping him away. Oh, wow, Ambition with a big take on that Dragon. 3-3 now, and a bit of a brawl going on. The carries for KOO trapped on the other side of the wall. Looks like they'll be able to get away. Hojin not able to get away as CJ picks up a kill there. They got the Dragon, they got the kill. What more could you ask right now for CJ?
Hojin and Smeb went into the river, but KOO had an angle on the choke point, which is why the rest of KOO didn't follow up on that engage. They were so afraid of the Victor combo coming through that they just had to leave Hojin out to dry.
They should be afraid of that.
There isn't many positioning terrain problems with a Kog'Maw usually because of his massive range, but you can see at this point when Smeb and Hojin are hopelessly caught, Gorilla tries to go aggressive, tries to open positions for Orianna or Kog'Maw to go in, but from this part of the fight onwards, these carries can do nothing.
And KOO played that really well because he didn't actually take the bait of going to help his team kill Hojin. He knew they had enough damage and instead just continued to back off and constantly present that massive choke point threat. So I really like the way he played that out. There was no chance for really counterplay unless KOO all wanted to die.
Well, CJ manages to take a tier 2 turret out of it as well. And this game is still very close. Wow. KOO actually just charging down the mid lane right now. That inhibitor is vulnerable.
There's a lot of gold on all the CJ members. They want to go and buy, but there's nothing really to force by rushing mid. They're too far away from the inhibitor turret, so can't really punish, but suddenly now get control of the positioning around Baron. Maybe not so relevant as it's still 2 minutes away from spawn.
So can KOO get the wards out of their jungle now?
Full item build.
Yep.
Rylai's
pretty much as strong as Victor gets.
It's fun seeing the Rylai's on both mid laners. This is what they did, opening up the 40% slow for those first spells. Command attack, 40% slow for 1 second. Now the death rate from long range of 40% slow. The pick threat is real. As speaking of picks, Smeb is pretty overextended.
Yeah, he's way down there, and he may pay for it. Here comes Space as well. They have a ward. They do see him, so Smeb can walk away. Dragging up in 1:20 now.
So close. It's what we wanted to see. We're still waiting for that Titanic fight, but is it going to be over the Baron? Is it going to be over the 4th Dragon? Is it actually going to be a 5th Dragon fight? Because it's going to be super late in this game.
Now, we've had a couple big fights already, but no game-ending fights just yet. 3-3 in Dragons, so now CJ threatening just as much as KOO is. Smeb is so tanky right now, though.
not quite at 6 items yet, but
getting there.
rapidly approaching.
Shy too, I suppose. Good wave clear, though, with Orianna and her little combo combined with that Ludens.
It's ironic, but in the super late game, Shen actually does have a downside because, look, he's all about causing global pressure because in a fight, he has a taunt and then not much more. The risk is that in the super late game, you go for a split push, 3.5 seconds is a long channel time. The fight might be over or that target might die and then you can't group. So Smeb actually feels pressured to group with his team, and if you're forced to group, you choose a tank, you always choose Maokai over Shen.
Yeah, unless you already have access to an open inhibitor,
sure.
I think that's the big deal breaker there. I almost feel that it's almost always best to use the Shen ult in the late game just to tank Baron.
It's fair. Look, it's fine now when, of course, there's less pressure, there's no four-man grouping, but yeah, Shen is an excellent ball carrier. KOO,
Oh boy.
using their movement speed.
Yep.
This is where they can use the Shen well, but you can see Ambition on the backside. It's going for the big flank.
Coming around, and he gets found out by Kuro.
Yeah.
Is he going to pay for it?
He may. That's a lot of damage. They're trying to get him with the slope and the Rylays, but there, wow, they get the flash from Ambition. They're going to catch him. Knock up, can they finish off? Shockwave brings him in, and there's a kill for Prey. Shy teleports, gets locked up like a cocoon immediately, and that lets them kill KOO. KOO with a huge advantage going to this Baron. Kuro and Gorilla, very low health, but without Ambition, without KOO, they may just turn on these inhibitors too.
Ambition just had a brain explosion there. It was far too aggressive. They hadn't swept for any sort of wards, was spotted, and that forced KOO to get in a bad position just to try and help his jungler. Died as well. And now there's 50 seconds till either of these members are alive.
Yeah, Gorilla just using his ult in the mid lane just to heal people up. They want these inhibitors, and once they take those, they can put a lot of pressure onto Baron. Could they maybe even close right here? The death timers are so high, but looks like they're going to try it.
There's
They're
no
going
wave
for
clear
it.
from CJ without Victor alive.
That's right, 40 seconds. Mad Life trying to make a play here first. Nexus turret goes down. There's a knockup, but Mad Life is going to pay for it. Getting lower. Burn through the ultimate. There's a kill again for Kog'Maw, and I don't think CJ is going to be able to take this one. Shockwave doesn't bring in space. He flashed out of it, but that's not going to help them protect those inhibitor turrets or Nexus turrets. There goes the Nexus, and KOO taking game one. What a close way to start our first playoff match. Wow, GG.
Well, you were right, Papa Smithy. That Ambition Evelynn just can't find the flank when it matters most. The idea was right, but they were too far away for that Evelynn ult, even if they had landed it, I think, to really have a major effect.
And his KDA, 3-1 and 8, he did well, but the one death loss in the game, and the crucial factor for CJ Entus is accelerating KOO's ascendancy to the late game. This guy is a wonder team fighter. He sees fights earlier and always knows where to be. We've seen him curve a zero ultimate so many times, but Evelynn can't gank mid lane very well, and CJ do a lot of losing when they lock in Evelynn.
And the main factor to Ambition's gank right there, the thing that could have turned it around,